everything they need in that trailer to support reentry would be there. Again, there is no AL numbers for those kind of things in the federal guidelines.
I understand. It's
But
a
yes, sir,
mess.
we've all told them just how we feel and the biggest thing is, again, they're trying to make us work for them instead of working for you.
Yeah, they don't wanna go in the field, do they?
And as we know, last year, you cannot depend on them. Everything I asked for, I was denied last year from the state. I was denied sandbags.
You denied sandbags?
I was denied sandbags, yes, ma'am. They told me to go buy my own. We were told that law enforcement, when I requested law enforcement for the sheriff's office, that they were spread thin. Sorry, can't help you.
Got to be on the internet.
It's, so, and they still do not have a recovery chief at this point. So all our money that has been obligated, the federal government has sent them that money. It is sitting in their coffers, and there's no checks being written because they do not have a recovery bureau chief.
Well, write that all down in the letter and let that be part of the substance of the letter that you send and the chairman will sign it for y'all.
But you got to take note that each local community, each local county has different needs.
Yes, sir. But they're trying to do it standardized.
They're trying to put federal standards to the state. They're trying to get the state's trying to give us federal guidelines, but the feds don't know what's going on in Apalachicola.
No, sir.
They don't know what's going on in Carabel. They don't know what's going on in Wakulla County or Gulf County because it's all local. And to me, it's eroding at the authority of your local elected officials to do what's right for their counties that they represent. So
It will basically tie my hands to do my job.
They're not gonna flood in Washington DC, so
Well, you got to understand, now this is coming from your state. These mandates on this
Well, the capital
EMPA
ain't
is
gonna
the
flood.
state has decided to implement this, not the federal government, the state.
well, how you gonna do your sandbags then, Pam?
you ain't unless we get her some more money.
No, that's what I'm saying, we got it, you're gonna have to have sandbags.
That's why I'm saying there's got to be, I myself and 67 more counties have voiced our opinions on several occasions. They keep sending us a new scope of work. Well, it just seems to be getting worse. I can't wait to see the new scope of work that they're going to send us.
That's what they're saying.
Did you have any sandbags left from last year?
Yes, sir, I have sandbags. I'm
Okay.
just saying, when those are gone, if they implement this, the scope of work that they're trying to shove into our hands for you to sign, no, sir, I won't be able to buy them after that. County have to buy them, or anything else I need.
But you got enough to do this
Yes, sir,
hurricane season?
I bought last year, because we have that period, that if we need anything, because we used up, last year, believe it or not, we gave out 10,000 sandbags in
Oh, I
this
know.
county. I turned around and purchased 10,000 more. And most of them are filled and they're sitting in that hangar out at the EOC. There's some in Carabel. But again,
I know we was having a problem with 2 or 3 coming and getting them using to dump sand in their yard, you remember that?
that is a huge problem. When we say you can come get sandbags, I know people pull up there and I know their house is, 3 blocks high. But again, I cannot, if they say they need them, I cannot tell them they can't have them, but I know what they're doing with them. They're dumping them in their yard after the event. It's exactly what's going on. That's why last year we tried to limit it to 25, but when you really think about that, 25 is still too many. All you need for sandbags is to put around your front door, on your back door, and they need to be placed correctly. So last year we handed out flyers saying how to place sandbags. But a sandbag is just going to slow it down. It's not going to keep that water out if you've got that kind of water coming. But it makes people feel good, and it's the right thing for us to do.
Well, the needs of a coastal community has different needs than a community in Bluntstown
Yes, sir.
or Marianna. You're sitting there bordering the bay, but you're also sitting there bordering a major river. I mean, so I don't see how they can, well, they do what they want to, but it doesn't make any sense to pass rules that regulate everything when your inner counties don't have the same needs as your coastal communities. I don't know who's trying to implement the program, if it's the EOC or if they're being directed by somebody else.
It's the EOC. I think his name is Maul West, is now writing the scope of work for Brian Coon.
Did your motion a while ago include writing the governor on this issue?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, sir.
Because he needs to be made aware of, it's not a one-size-fits-all.
No, sir.
And I understand what Pam's saying about the sandbags. Well, if she gets them up and gets them ready and they're stored in the sun, eventually they deteriorate. So when you need them, you go and pick them up, the sand falls out the bag falls apart. So if you ain't got somewhere to put these things up to keep them out of the sunlight and all that will deteriorate the bags, then you've basically done nothing in your preparedness, which is the shed that she's talking about. So anyway, we'll write the letter and see what we can do, but we do have a member of Senator Mumford's staff here, and we hope that she will take that information back and reiterate the dangers and the differences between coastal communities with things such as sandbags, and then your inner communities that doesn't have that same need. And it's hard to write one law that fits everything. Anything else, Pam?
That's it.
We did take a vote on that.
You need to vote.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? That motion carries. Any other questions from the board for Pam? Thank you, Pam. Keep us updated on the storm,
I will.
please. Next will be Mr. Eric Lovestrand, Extension Director.
Good morning, Commissioners. I had one item in my written report that Mr. Morone thought you might like some additional information on, and it relates to an effort to try to combat the citrus greening disease, which we have identified in Franklin County now. And so I've been talking a little bit to other UF researchers and folks that work on citrus, and also some of the Department of Agriculture experts down at the Division of Plant Industry, who have worked on a program to actually implement a biocontrol effort that attacks the Asian citrus psyllid, which is the bug, the insect vector that transmits the disease from tree to tree. We seem to have some fairly isolated pockets of where we've identified this in the county so far, and these folks would like to try to implement a biocontrol effort that will work on reducing the psyllid population. And that has been done very successfully by the release of a very tiny parasitic small wasp that is a host-specific parasite for that insect vector that transmits the disease. They've done it in a lot of other places, and it has successfully reduced the population of the psyllids there, which also reduces the potential for spread of that bacterial pathogen from tree to tree. If there are less bugs there to move it, you don't get the spread as broadly and as fast. So we're interested in doing that, and just wanted to kind of pass that information on to commissioners so they know what's going on. And any questions you might have, we'll be happy to try to answer those or provide more information.
Any of the board members have any questions for the Extension Director?
Can you put one of them up in my area?
Put one where?
In my area.
Oh, yeah, they basically would like to try to release small groups of these little bugs in areas where we've identified psyllid populations already. I've been putting out collector devices throughout the county where we have citrus trees, looking for the psyllids that we do have here in the county, and have located some key spots where we probably need to do that.
Well, I got some citrus trees. I want you to put some in my area.
I'd like to come look at your trees if we get an opportunity. So I'll
Okay.
talk to you about that afterwards.
Any other questions for Mr. Eric this morning from the board?
If I may, the wasp that you're referring to, could they in any way ever be an issue for us as far as, just public hazard, or, you know what I mean?
Yeah, this is an insect that is about this big,
Okay.
and
Big
it's a
like a-
stingless wasp that actually lays its egg on the psyllid larvae, and the larvae for the wasp actually lives inside of that psyllid larvae until it hatches out and destroys the psyllid in the process. And it's a mechanism for control that has been used with a lot of other invasive pest species that have come in. Scientists have gone to the native range of that pest and looked for a predator on that pest, and then done a long, thorough protocol for testing, offering that particular wasp native species of psyllids that we do not want to be targeted. And this host, or this wasp species, has shown that it's very specific to that Asian psyllid. Did not parasitize our native psyllids when they ran it through the protocol testing for that. and it's been released with no apparent negative impacts in other areas already several times.
Is that the same one that bores a hole in the ground?
No, this one actually just lays its egg on the little tiny insect larvae, and then the larvae burrows into the pest species and ends up destroying it.
There's some kind of bug over there in Carabel, it's like he bores a hole in the ground, piles his dirt up,
Mhm.
about that long. It's like
Yeah.
a yellow jacket or a wasp or something.
We do have some ground bees that are native in our area, and you'll see large colonies of them. They'll be hovering above the ground, and you'll see their burrows there.
That's what it
That's
is then.
a native ground bee. But this thing's a fraction of the size of anything you could see, basically, with your naked eye, unless you were really looking hard. It's tiny.
Well, let me ask you something, Eric. You're
Yes,
talking
ma'am.
about you saw some cases of the citrus green in Franklin County. What does it look like?
You end up with trees that just look like they're in poor condition, and they decline over a period of about 3 or 4 years and eventually
Right.
die. You'll have mottling in the foliage, the leaves will start getting yellow patches, and twigs will die back, and the tree just goes from bad to worse. Yeah. Fruit are small, they drop off the tree early. We've really located it in a couple of small pockets. Appalach, a few yards, we found it in Carabel. So we think that if we hit those local areas, we may really slow this thing down, because it's been a devastating disease in other parts of the country and also out of the country in South America.
Any other comments from the board members? Thank you for coming in today, Eric.
Yes, sir, thank you.
Next will be Ms. Lisa Lance, Library Director.
Good morning, Commissioners. Today we have at Carabel at 1:30, we have a gardening event, The Invasive Exotic Weeds and Surprises to Your Landscape. Looks like a good day to be inside for a gardening event, so I encourage everyone to join us in Carabel for that. It's at 1:30. We also have the same program on July 11th at the East Point location. I just have a couple other things. Our summer reading program was a great kickoff last week on Wednesday. We had the flag raising ceremony. The Tyndall Air Force Base Honor Guard raised our flag and presented the colors. We also had, we were very honored with the donations that were made to our summer reading program by the American Legion, Legionnaires Post 82, the Sons of American Legion, the American Legion Ladies Auxiliary, and the Riders. Each of them gave a $250 donation, so we had a $1,000 donation just in that, from that one event for our reading program for the summer. Appreciated everyone that came out. We had more than 60 people in attendance. Turned out well. The weather, good Lord bless us with great weather that day, so we were honored. We had our kickoff event that afternoon at Carabel. We had 4 children participating. At East Point, we had 7. We have each Wednesday, we have a weekly Wednesday event for the kids at 11 o'clock in Carabel and 3 p.m. In East Point. And then we also have 5 more weeks of performances. Our next performance will be on Monday, June 26th, and that is Phil Meyer the Magician. Let's see, Doodad Lab, so we had last Friday, was a great event for the kids. The kids really enjoyed learning about simple machines and science. We have added more than 150 new books to each location for the children's department. Those are all part of our summer reading program. We do have my final thing is we do have a part-time library assistant job position that will be available after June 30th. We have a resignation by our part-time staff, Audrey Strange, and that posting comes out in the paper this week. It's already on the county website, and I also did send out an email through a Florida listserv that broadcasts that throughout the state of Florida to various people. Well, I've already received some calls on that position, so we look to see how many applications we can get, and hopefully the second week of July we will be doing interviews for that, because we need to get someone in that position as soon as possible, because that resignation does put us in a quandary for the rest of our summer reading program, and then into August. Makes us very short-staffed in the Carabel location. So, don't have anything else.
Anything from the board members to Ms. Lisa, please?
You're doing a fine job, Miss Lisa.
So, thank you.
I stop by and see her time for time. She's doing excellent.
Thank you all very much. Appreciate your all support.
Any other board comment? Thank you for coming in today.
Thank you.
Next will be Miss Amy Anderson, East Point Medical Center update. Please come forward, state your name for the record.
Morning, I'm Amy Anderson, the manager at East Point Medical Center. I have with me Doris Carmichael. I just wanted to give y'all some information about our patient demographics for 2016. Last year, we served over 1,095 patients. Of those patients, 187 were uninsured. We had about 2,768 visits from those patients. 33% of our total patients are at 200% below poverty level. We provided over $68,000 worth of medical services to those patients, and we waived around $51,000 worth of services. We also were able to save our Medicare patients over $37,000 by waiving their annual deductible. We serve all patients, age ranges from newborn to adult. We are accepting new patients, and we are now in network with United Healthcare as well. And I have Doris here. She would like to say a few things.
Good morning, Commissioners. My name's Doris Carmichael. I am a family nurse practitioner. I am board certified in the state of Florida to provide medical care for newborn to, I think 103 is the oldest I've seen so far. So I'm excited. Today marks my first year of services at North Florida Medical Center, specifically East Point Medical. And I'm excited to see the growth. But I did want to mention for public record that I was amazed at the sliding fee that they offer. Now, primarily our patients consist of Franklin County residents, but we do have some patients that come from Bristol, Bluntstown, over Crawfordville, Mexico Beach. So we have other county residents that do come over and take advantage of some of the services. I would love to say a lot of that is because of me, but I realize it is because of the services that we offer there, the great services, and the sliding scale fee for the people who have no insurance. Now, I've been able to network and provide some specialty services to our county residents through Sacred Heart. Have an uncompensated grant, and they will provide x-rays and MRIs and even specialty providers that are there in Gulf County. They can see them for free or based on income. We are networking with some other providers in Tallahassee that will take some of our patients that also, like I say, have no insurance, and they will provide them services on a sliding scale fee like we do. So that's been a great opportunity, since all of you know we lack a lot of specialty services here. So we are very excited about that, to work with some of the dermatology, urology groups that come to the Carabel Center. We've been utilizing those skills. Y'all have any questions for me at all?
I do.
Yes, sir.
Will you be admitting patient to George Wing?
I am not on the medical board at Wings. I would love to entertain that thought, even if it was only courtesy privileges. I do work closely with the ER doctors there, Dr. Conrad and Dr. Nate, several of them there. I send patients there all the time, call the ER, let them know who's coming and what's going on with the patient, and send them records. I use all of the outpatient services at Weems. Their X-ray, their CT, even some of the services that haven't been used there in a while. The pulmonary function testing, respiratory does some things for me there. And I work with Becky pretty close when I have outpatient services that need specialty things, like people who have lines that come from Tallahassee or Bay, and they have PICC lines, or they need special medicines. They have to go every day and get medicines infused, or maybe they just need to use the swing bed, the rehab services there. So I've worked with Becky on several things. I believe in using local. We do unfortunately have to go out of county a lot for specialty things.
I understand that.
Orthopedics and, things like that. But yes, sir, I use Williams quite frequently.
Okay, but we can get you them privileges.
that I wouldn't have a problem with that. I think we would need to talk with Dr. Conrad about, typically what I do is I send my patients, since y'all use hospitalist, which means the ER docs cover the patients that are admitted. The courtesy privileges, I could still go in and check on my patients while they're admitted. I could interact with the doctors, and there wouldn't be a violation with me looking at their charts, and you know, kind of having input there. But I feel very comfortable with the relationship I have with the wonderful ER group y'all have working there.
Thank you.
Any other comments from the board? Thank y'all for coming in today.
Thank you.
Next will be Mr. Kurt Blair.
Michael's handing out a couple of things that we didn't get a chance to get in the packet in time for the mailing this week, that I'll refer to in a couple of minutes. First of all, though, I want to take a minute for an introduction. We have in the audience Deb Davis. Deb is working for me now, working on bookkeeping and check requests and finances, and she's been spending the first couple of months of her time on bringing us up to date with our coordination with the clerk's office. I want to thank Marcia's office for the work that and the time they've spent with Deb for helping us get our monthly reports up to date. And so you'll be seeing more of Deb, and I just kind of wanted to have her take a chance to come by and get a chance to meet you all. Our numbers this month, you've received a copy of the collections report. We're up to date on collections through March, and so far, March totaled $84,538.19. This is about a little over a $4,500 increase over March of 2016, and represents a 17% increase for the month. Overall, though, we're running at a little over 10% for the year, and we don't. Since most of the business in the summer goes to a continuing market, we don't see that there's going to be much of a change in that 10% increase. My guess is it'll go down a little bit between now and the end of the year. We'll probably level out at the 7 or 8% that we've been seeing, historically over the last couple of years. You also have the visitor center report, and one of the things that Michael handed out was, I think at one point you asked if you could see a historical progression of what our visitor centers were doing, and one of the handouts he gave you is that we really have only been doing collection of data on visitor centers for about 2.5 years, so it's a relatively new thing, but we do keep track over the years of what one visitor center does over another, and we're eventually going to analyze that in the context of what we see in terms of the monthly changes in collections, and correlate it somehow with what we see in visitor centers, or at least see if we can correlate it. So that's for your information. And the next item is, I just wanted to make a couple of comments on the legislature this year. Actually, there were two things that we were particularly interested in here in Franklin County. One was the progression of the Visit Florida discussions, and there's been a special session, as you all know, since the regular session ended, and the discussion about the increases or the decreases in the Visit Florida funding have been resolved. They are originally in the regular session, they were only funded at $25 million. In the special session, they were bumped up to the $76 million that Visit Florida had requested, and the governor had requested for that program. Along with that, there are some modifications of policy that the Visit Florida is going to have to implement relative to how they handled their internal financing, and it'll affect some of the contractees that they have, and we're still looking at what those changes are to see if they affect us at all. But I do need to say that all along in the Visit Florida discussion and the questions about tourist development taxes, we've been very honored to have Senator Mumford right there in the midst of all of the discussion. He chaired an important committee with the Senate this last year that helped him keep his hands on the legislation. As you pointed out, Marcia's here, and she's been wonderful in communicating our positions on various issues relative to tourism, and we really appreciate his help. The other issue I wanted to report on, you probably already know, I think it was in one of the newspapers or on the radio. We were finally successful this year after 3 years of trying to get the memorial designation for the Millender Highway up in Carabel. As you remember, Commissioner Massey raised that issue 2 or 3 years ago. It took several years to get it done. And once again, I have to commend Senator Mumford, who sponsored the bill in the Senate, and of course Representative Beshears, who sponsored it this year in the House. It finally came to fruition. We thank you, Commissioner Massey, for suggesting that, and I know the family shares with me their appreciation for all of you have done, and especially Senator Mumford and Representative Beshears on getting the designation completed. There will be a ceremony at some point when DOT gets ready to install the signage, and so we'll keep you up to date on that as well.
No, thank you for helping me with it, and Mr. Mumford.
It was, for me, it was a clear honor, sir.
Sir.
I really appreciated the opportunity.
Yeah, you put a lot of time in it.
Well, the legislative delegation were very, very helpful. The next item are our annual contracts, and I distributed those to you this weekend, and I just have one addition to all of that. The first group are the vendors, and I wanted to say that you have the vendor contracts for Bay Media, Coastal Solutions, which is 2K Web Group, Forgotten Coast TV, and then I think we're going to add one more to it, but we just approved it last week. The contracts are all the same in terms of funding levels. What Attorney Schuler and I were able to do was to work with the vendors to wrap together in one agreement of the various different activities that the vendors do. I mean, we had several addendums that trailed along with these, and so they're now all incorporated in one document. Their base rates are the same. What we've included is the different products that they provide us beyond their core services, and we've gotten the contracts written, to reflect that. And but that's it's more of a presentation thing than a substance thing. These are all the same levels and rates that we've been paying for several years. So you have that group of contracts. The one trailer is mine, and that's for the additional services that we are able to contract for that are just a series of miscellaneous activities, working with our travel writers, working on our getaway activities, and updating our website and the like. Did everybody get a beep on their phone? Is it?
The tornado warning, go ahead.
Do we need a duck?
No, not yet.
Okay. So we present those to you for your consideration, and I would ask that we just finalized last week an agreement with WXOS for a contract. It's a 3-month contract for $300 a month. We're just getting started with them on a regular air basis, contracting for air time. And if it's all right, if you could include that in your approvals. We have an agreement from Michael Allen, but it's on his form, and it doesn't provide a section for y'all's signature. So if you would be willing to include that, that would be fine.
Pleasure of the board.